Welcome everybody for Defender Fridays. My usual mini pitch here is essentially we get and talk to all kinds of interesting people in cybersecurity on the defense side, particularly. And there's just so more weird corners of the defensive sides of cybersecurity. And we kind of want to make that circle bigger, have those conversations with other folks. So this is not meant to be slide deck at all. It's a conversation, really, just learning about cool stuff, cool things that various people are doing. And so with that in mind, I think this week, definitely fits the bill. We have Filip with us. How's it going?
Hey, Max. Going good.
Awesome. Really happy to have you with us, particularly, I think the topic that you come with is, I feel like it's one of those like bottomless mines that we could keep mining and get interesting ideas about. You wanted to talk like SOC automation. So before that, maybe do you mind doing like a quick intro about yourself?
Sure, definitely. So, hello everyone. Filip Stojkovski here. Been in the cybersecurity space for over 15 years now. Spent big part of my career at Adobe. Started as a SOC analyst back in the days. Moved to security engineering, incident response, threat intelligence. Then I was leading a pretty large security engineering team at Deutsche Bank. And now for over 1 year, I am at Snyk, where I'm responsible for their security monitoring, threat detection, and automation. And as well, in my free time, I'm running my blog, CyberSec Automation. I know it started to get some traction in the last few years, where I share ideas and frameworks around security automation and in general security operations, more on the defensive side.
Super cool, super cool. Um, I don't know, did you have like already in mind a thing you wanted to start a conversation with? Or, I mean, I can think of all kinds of other questions, but go for it.
No, it's what the topic that I came is something that it's um, that, as I was saying, I'm tackling it quite often. And something that I wanted to start is like how we arrived from the point where we were doing Python scripts back in the day to the SOAR platforms, which got absorbed by most of the SIEM vendors. Then we had the whole hyper automation. And now we have this new way of AI SOC platform that started appearing. It's just, yes, the evolution, how it's changing. Will the new AI SOC will just absorb everything else that it's around automation, or maybe not? It will be just another cool functionality that we have in our SIM. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that's interesting. I had not thought personally about AI SOC actually replacing, SOAR and hyper automation. Um, do you think that's the right way to think about it? Or like it feels like there's a lot of gaps in between those two things, no?
Exactly. That's my opinion as well. So I didn't want it to be uh, to share my opinion right away here and to make you everyone biased. But that's how I'm seeing is like there are two ways or yeah, two ways to go. One is the deterministic automations. I think that still we will need them. And how I see that, especially on the response and the remediation side, all the time we want to have something deterministic, that we don't want an AI going wild and isolating whatever it wants and doing some weird changes in our production environment. Where the AI stuff and all the agentic stuff that we're seeing is more on the stuff that they're not that deterministic. So, for example, an investigation. So investigation, we tried for so many years to use these playbooks and try to follow them. And probably some of you know that you have 50, 60 playbooks, and just 10 of them they're followed by your SOC team, and all the others they're doing just doing analysis by instinct and stuff like that. So that didn't work. So I think that's where probably it will have a bit bigger impact.
And so you just kind of mentioned like that was a thing that didn't work. I feel like that might be an interesting way of looking a little bit at your progression through like SOC automation. Um, what was it like going, like from a bank, and how that world worked and what didn't work, what worked, and just seeing, that path, kind of connecting the dots forward?
Well, I think it's there definitely the SOC work. It's quite different in the environment that you're working. So when I was working initially, I started as at MSSP. It was like HP Enterprise, one of the first MSSP services that they were offering, and there it was like 40 different customers. You would do a lot of analysis, incident response. It was all around IDS and IPS systems back in the day. And again, we had like playbook for each customer. And of course, when you would do analysis at the end of the month or the quarter, you would see that analysts, they would go and do different things and they wouldn't follow the playbook. And I was like, okay, maybe that's MSSP. Then moved to different companies. I was at Adobe as well, where we were doing um, we were one of the early teams in cybersecurity. We would apply machine learning to understand the behavior, to do behavioral analytics and see like how analysts they're processing different type of alerts to find a baseline and what's anomaly. And again, we would see that most of the analysts they would do their own playbook. So it's like we would build so many documents and Confluence pages on how to act on specific incidents, but uh, no one would actually follow them step by step, especially when yes, you see some really complex attacks, or you see that you need to raise an incident. Everyone then starts to panic, and you don't follow the playbook. And that in the bank is like regulated environment. And I think in general, if you work in regulated environment, there you don't have the option. Okay, I won't follow the playbook because everything is audited, and the end of the quarter you have auditors and regulators looking after you. If you don't follow the playbook, then the organization needs to pay in fines. So there it was like you must do that. There was like no other way. But then you have way higher burnout rate because it's really repetitive to do all the same playbook all over and over again. So yeah.
So does that mean then that in your mind, so here's my interpretation of what you said. It feels like you're essentially saying like there's a space for each of those categories of products, and the space that the AI SOC thing fits in might just be to avoid a lot of like analysts having that fatigue of following playbooks, and like taking that bad-ish part of the job away, but at the same time while maintaining like those playbooks for at least for regulated environments. Is that roughly how you're thinking about it?
Yes, I would say in the regulated environment, still they would play more the old way SOAR style playbooks, right? Because those are more deterministic and that's what they want. They don't want to, when auditor comes and they say, oh, we don't know what the AI did or why it did that way, it's just programmed that way, or that's how it learned. Where on the other side, like tech companies or fast moving companies, where they want to be more proactive, I think that's where AI would be better fit, because you want to apply that non-deterministic to see what steps the AI will take to analyze specific threats.
I see, I see. So have you actually deployed like some of those newer AI SOC technologies? How's that gone?
Yes. Yeah, we're deploying now at Snyk, and been for a few months that we're running, and yes, we're on the path for implementing autonomous SOC. We'll see. I'll share definitely the story when how that goes when we can say yes, it's fully autonomous. So far, it's pretty good. I would say the results there are quite promising. Initially, I was really optimistic. Then I was like, there are too many people saying, "Oh, this won't work," and maybe we need to take a step back and reevaluate. And I give it for a few months. I would say a trial period, or what they call shadow mode, to run the AI parallel. And yeah, it's doing good job. It's getting better and better, and that's what we want to see.
All right. So okay, so that's cool. I I like that you're very transparent about like, well, we're not there yet, so I can't tell you exactly how it's working. I feel like a lot of the AI SOC is in that, at that spot right now. So if we carve that part out of it, um, how do you think about automating a SOC? And I'm gonna dig on a specific part of that. You mentioned like the MSSP side. I know it's my personal interest, often because it's a, I feel like building a solution for enterprise is the equivalent of it works on my machine, but for security. So
Yes.
like if you can actually do that in an MSSP, MDR, or whatever, that's really the proof of like, okay, this is a generic solution. So what's your like your best best case? How do you think about building that SOC automation for like a service provider ish?
So I would say too, I think it's like with any new technologies we're implementing and taking just with customers that where you know very well the environment and you have pretty good results and start onboarding it from there. And um, yeah, then take it further and further. But I think what is important is to be transparent and also not just throw the technology there and not train your team. I think it's a framework behind. You need to account for the full processes, people, and technology piece. So you bring the AI SOC technology, you train your people how to use it, and then you build processes around it as well. So it doesn't break. In other words, also you don't want when, as you were saying, it works on my machine, but on, on someone else it's not, and that's because you want to try on customers where stuff they're well documented, and when you escalate stuff to them, they're prompt, they come back pretty fast, they know their environment quite well. Because if you I was making an analogy, so let's say you have one department is running full AI and they're bragging on how well they're doing, and then they're sending requests to their let's say HR or legal department where they're still running a lot of spreadsheets and stuff, and they just get thousands of requests by the AI bots, and they cannot handle because they're doing still stuff manually. So it needs to be some balance in between, yes, who is using it, what is using it, and how is using it.
Right. Sorry, I should have been like a little bit clearer. I was thinking of actually about the other side of that equation. So I feel like exactly like you're describing, right? The AI
Hmm.
SOC, a lot to be discovered there. But there's still a big space for SOC automation as it was before
Oh,
the
I see.
AI SOC, right? So I'm curious to hear from your experience, like how would you want to structure this? I hate to call it legacy because I don't think it's legacy technology. It's
Hmm.
just understood technology. Like, what's your philosophy of how you structure that, for example, for a service provider?
uh, that's a good one. I haven't thought much about it either. But now that I'm put in the spot, I would say I think even though if you're looking at the classical automation, still I think they can be AI enabled. And maybe I'm switching the gears and the topic here a bit is going back to the solution. Can how fast you can build now solutions in house versus buying them, because now you have all the AI coding assistants that enable you to build things faster. I think it's the same with automation. It doesn't mean that you need to implement AI agents all the way and to have AI investigation. You can build even deterministic old way automations way faster and way better because, yes, in the end, it's a Python code or any scripting language behind it. So you can use the AI that way. Still, you'll build faster. And so that means that you won't drastically change the full process on how the investigation is done. It's just you'll be able to scale it better and faster.
Yeah, I wonder about that part. Like I'm curious, and I know like this was on the spot. The spidey sense here for me is you're totally right that you can do that. I don't. I'm wondering if it's something you should do because the thing I think you get from products, right? Like the hyper automation, but also the playbooks, like all of that, is a standardization. So
Mhm.
I totally see like you that now most people can build really specific customized solutions and automations for things they need. Um, but it also makes me worry that like it's going to end up with a ton of like snowflake scripts and fast forward a year and it's like chaos everywhere and nothing's working. um Yeah. So I don't know. Is there a framework to that, that you can kind of like work within when you're automating a SOC, or do you just approach every task like one at a time?
I think that definitely there's a framework, and I created some, and I shared them also on my blog in the past years. Some of them I implemented them in various organizations, and they work. What I like to do, so first I'll start on what was my approach to make it work. It was specifically in security operations. I would tie to the incident response cycle, and on the back end, what I applied it was software development life cycle. That way you have it a bit organized, so you're taking pieces on how you develop software in a traditional way. So you keep all the processes on CI/CD pipeline, and how you store, like, have code repos and stuff like that with peer reviews and so on. Um, and the other is that you need to do testing all the way, that you start. So my thought process, for example, it was you start at the beginning with creating your detections. Once you have a detection, then you need to develop a playbook on how you will actually triage that detection. And then in the end, it was coming the automation piece. So it's like, okay, I have a detection, this is how I'll process it, and now let's see which steps I can automate. And if you iterate that process like every time and you don't skip steps, it will be successful. And then you have, yes, everything documented. And going back to the documentation, I think that's AI where it really shines and makes things easier. Like I've ended up in the past in so many cycles of those, is developing scripts, and then they work for a few months, they work for a project, and someone forgets about them, and there's just like pile of infrastructure and things running in the background that no one knows. Now with AI, you can make it way easier to document everything. So you can just throw the code, and it can add comments on every line, which was not the case in the past. So in the past, yes, quick and dirty security engineering. You just write the script, throw it, it works, and you forget about it. Now you can have well documented, and the AI will do the heavy lifting on that.
Yeah, and I would add to that the like, look, maybe everybody else has realized it before me, but like the realization for me in the past few weeks was that the documentation, like the audience of the documentation is changing drastically, and the idea of having the documentation in like a pretty web page with the CSS and the format is like that's cool, but
Yes.
we need now more than ever like artifacts, like like machine readable, but that's as low as just like markdown of everything, because that's what unlocks, being able to then like throw an AI and say like figure out the doc for these things and make it work. Um, so it's
Yeah.
been a mental shift, right?
Oh, definitely, that's excellent point. It was yes. Also, that's what I was looking at. Like, as now, as you were saying, most of the time AI will read all those documents, just understanding and build on top of it. So it's a change. Yes, a lot of processes that are changing, so we need to adjust to them. And I think that's where most of the pushback on the other side will come. Is just that we might have too many processes changing so fast, and we are not able to adapt to that.
Right, right. So let's say for, like a typical, I don't know if there's such a thing, but like a typical SOC, or like MSSP or NDR or whatever, that is trying to think about how they want to automate in the future, like, how they think about their future level of automation. I think you have experience kind of going to the edge of that right now, right? Like kind of
Yes.
building some of those things. What's the things that maybe are not self-evident, that if you do you have advice for those people of like, hey, start to think about it in this way because it'll save your ass in the future, or anything like that?
Yes, that's a good one. Something that when I was building a guide on how to implement AI SOC on the experience that they had on how I was implementing here at Snyk. One of the thing that myself and the team thought is like, what will be the one thing that yes we won't, as you said, be sorry later that we didn't implement, and that was to have all the guardrails or okay. here at Snyk, we put a lot of, I would say, we concentrate a lot on building stuff secure by design. So one thing that we wanted to do, it was to put the guardrails on the AI SOC investigation implementation from the start, and that it can be even just something simple that you can attach to it. It can be YAML files that you're using, but mainly put the guardrails what the AI cannot do. And I think that's from where you start. You have specific environment that you don't want to be touched. Start from there. Put some boundaries on where it should go, and then just add on top more stuff that you don't want the AI doing. And then you have the upper hand. You have the control, and you know that it won't hallucinate in a way that you don't expect. Even if it does, it won't be as bad as you expect.
Hopefully, anyway, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's all English, right? Or any language, I should say. It's all language. So okay, that's interesting to start by like the negative part of that. Is that an approach, like in what you've seen of the industry at large? Is that an approach that ports well to different types of solutions, or do you think it's more like how Snyk is thinking about it specifically? Kind of, yeah. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, yeah, I get it. And sadly, no. From the vendors that I've seen, not many they're thinking on what guardrails you can put now in the solution. Now they want to show you results and they want to show you fast on how you can implement fast uh, plug and play solutions. Where yes, the guardrails they don't come by default. Then we've seen the same thing we did with the cloud technologies. It was like everyone was going to the cloud, and later it was okay, wait, how we put all the guardrails, because now everything is exposed to the internet. And it's the same thing with the AIS. It's like, okay, this is super cool, it makes our job way easier, let's implement it. And then you realize, and the solutions they're doing the same thing, because that's what drives revenue, is like how we can implement things faster. And not many they have, yes, embedded on to put controls around it and what their AI shouldn't do, and how to prevent of just accessing specific information or systems, especially now with the MCP. It's like another bad example of uh, no security by design at all. It's just a prototype that everyone is using it in production, which is not so great.
Right, right. It's not a case of there is no security by design. It feels like it's no security
Security,
by
yes.
design, which is a subtle difference there. Scary one too. Uh, Interesting. So have you used? Do you still use a lot of those? Again, not legacy, like those
Mhm.
other automation technologies. Do you make them work with those like AI SOC technologies, or do you think about them as kind of like two separate layers that just don't necessarily interact?
No, they definitely should work, and I created a really cool visual on this one, presenting like each where it makes sense to use deterministic automations, the pulse to source style automations, and where you should use like AI agents or AI analysis and stuff like that. How I'm seeing, like, I like to split it on I would say on three areas. So what they call is the left side of the incident response, which is the data layer, it's detection engineering, correlation, stuff like that. There I think you can use in some ways AI, but you shouldn't like jump the gun and go apply LLM on directly on your log source, because you'll burn a lot of money quite fast. And we have ML, which was like designed for that. It's for, you get data, you made statistical analysis on data, and that's what you should do on the raw data. uh, then once you have that, you can use like AI for correlation, which it might work bit better in some scenarios where you have like unstructured data and stuff like that. um, then we have the middle layer, which is investigations. I think there, yes, Go AI, it shines, it's great, it's exactly what it's supposed to do. We really like using it there. And then we have on the right side where I wouldn't use AI, at least not yet. That's the response and remediation. I want to be like fully deterministic, old school. Yes, I want just ABC to happen in this specific order. I want this host to be isolated in this specific way. I want this like firewall rule to be applied on this specific way. I don't want this crazy Terraform templates that can break stuff and things like that.
Dynamically built Terraform template. That's a
Yes.
scary thought. Cool. So, which way do you like? So that describes today. If you have to put, if you have to kind of think on one side versus the other one, where do you think those technologies will go next? Will it go to the pre-incident like you were describing, or the post side? Any thoughts on that?
Yes, where I'm seeing and I'm already getting some traction and sense from most of the vendors that they're developing in the space, it's more on the left side. So it will be more on the data pipeline detection, engineering, correlation. I think that's the next layer that also it makes more sense. If I was like to start everything from the beginning, usually it makes sense. Yes, you start from the data pipeline and then go up in the process. But yeah, it was the technology I was saying. It was really good fit for the investigation, so we started there. So yes, we'll go on the shift left like it was for the development life cycle style. So we're going shift left, and then it will be yes on the right side. I know when it will happen because as human, I think we want to have control. We are the ones that pushes the button, yes, go and destroy a machine or quarantine a host, things like that. But so I think it will take a while to arrive and to have the trust to do remediation response
Mm-hmm.
autonomously.
And I think we tend to think about LLMs as a tool, like as a single tool, right? Do I apply LLM here? But I think the thing that's going to pick up a lot of steam, and that's my particular hot take here, is the idea of, let's say you're talking about the pre-incident, right? Um, Look, you can't put an LLM on 100 gigs of ingested data a day of logs. Like, it makes no sense at all, right? From
Mm.
money, but also context, like all the things fail. However, um, I suspect we're going to reach fairly quickly a world where we will be able to leverage an LLM to automatically build and optimize the machine learning stack that operates at that scale, so that from a user perspective, you kind of still get this value of like the LLM doing a lot of things for you, but where it's just engineering more efficient systems underneath. And I think you kind of like capture a bunch of value throughout the stack there. Do you think the same thing, or am I completely out of line here?
No, I have not thought of that specifically, but I think it makes total sense. I think that's the way to go. Yes, especially as you were saying to train the ML models. I think when I think now, as you said it, I think it makes total sense. I think that's where we should be heading, yes, because we should make the things that the technology that already runs great at some parts, and yes, make it just AI enabled or enable AI in the process, but not let the AI do the job itself.
Right. Very cool. Cool. Well, thank you. Thanks for coming in. That was very interesting discussion. I mean, again, like, SOC automation is like an endless well that we could go down. If folks want to get in touch with you, is there any better way to do that?
Yeah, but I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or just check out my blog as well. I think it has been posted on the chat. And yes, thank you for having me. I think it was a great discussion, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks for coming in, and we'll see everybody Defender Fridays next week.